This is Esther Lynn, photographer for MMAfighting.com, and I'd like to share some moments from UFC 223. In January at UFC 220 in Boston, the UFC held a press conference to promote upcoming cards, the feature of which was the elusive Ferguson vs. Khabib main event. Much of this presser was centered around whether this would be for the interim or undisputed title, as the holder of a lightweight title had not defended it since November 2016. In the fourth iteration of this booking, we have their face-off. But days before fight week would begin in earnest, the MMA gods would once again decide it was not to be. On Sunday night, Max Holloway would be stepping in for Tony Ferguson. With that kind of introduction, we headed to Brooklyn for the start of Fight Week at the Music Hall of Williamsburg. It's Wednesday. There were already many papakas and chants of Khabib time in this packed concert venue. The change in the main event had not deterred these fans. In the hall to the stage door, Rose Namajunas patiently waited for the press conference to begin as they played the countdown show on the screens. Right away, Max Holloway and Khabib Nurmagomedov go at it, despite seemingly having no beef. The press conference gets rowdy very quickly. And looming over Brooklyn, is there a contingency plan if Holloway can't make the lightweight limit? Is this for the real belt still? What about Conor McGregor's title, and will he be present to challenge the winner? All the while, strawweight champion Rose Namajunas sat quietly, answering questions succinctly when they came. Then after the face-off, the two competitors stood face to face and engaged in one of the more solemn and electric handshakes I've witnessed. The press conference ends, and we go into the open workout portion of the evening. Joanna Jędrzejczyk keeps her workout short and intense, while Khabib opts to answer fans' questions and give away a few shirts. Rose Namajunas goes several rounds with Pat Barry and Trevor Whitman, with measured steps in between each, in calming circles. And Max Holloway's hits don't seem to have a ton of pop, but the man never really was one to batter the mitts or wow his audiences in these demonstrations. It was hard to say if that lethargy meant anything. The next day, the media day progressed as it always does. There's always a kind of anxiety over how many fighters you'll get to speak to in that short period of time, but overall it's a straightforward event. It's stranger to look back at it in the lens of what would transpire minutes after its conclusion. At any point, when I looked around the entry atrium at the Barclays Center, where I've stood for many press conferences and boxing weigh-ins, I saw Michael Chiesa and Ariel Helwani discussing beards, Ray Borg by the large windows bringing in soft, reflected light, Ala Quinta, whose name sign was a casualty of a printing error, so being of enterprising nature, the real estate agent made his own. It's surreal to look around at all these fighters completing their promotional duties and know what we know now about Saturday night's eventual lineup. Everything goes smoothly, as usual, and the fighters gather to descend to the loading dock to head back to their hotel and continue cutting weight. There's a light commotion far down the hallway, but we were all engrossed in getting the images and video uploaded and sent to our news editors. I did not know that a few hours later I would be called to run over to the 78th precinct as Conor McGregor would be turning himself in for the alleged attack on the fighter buses hours before. I have never waited outside of a police station for a fighter. I do hope I never have to do it again. It is cold for April, and of course, the wait is unrewarding, as he would sneak in through a side door not to emerge until the morning, while we are midway through the official weigh-ins. A few hours later, we're setting up to cover the weigh-ins in a Brooklyn Marriott ballroom. With all the hubbub last night, it was easy to forget just why we were here, for UFC 223. And in the hours we were waiting outside of the precinct, we found out that both Ray Borg and Michael Chiesa would not be able to compete due to injuries sustained during the bus incident. When Khabib Nurmagomedov weighs in, we're still here for the Eagle vs. Blessed. But by the time the co-main eventers have both made weight, the feeling is changing. As we sit around this room during this 2-hour window, Conor McGregor has left the police precinct and been transported to the court in handcuffs to a sea of media. The commission then comes in to confirm to us what we've been speculating about for the last hour, that Max Holloway will no longer be competing, as he will not make the lightweight limit safely. Minutes later, Anthony Pettis, who was originally scheduled to fight Michael Chiesa, strolls in and is likely to get a title shot at Khabib if he can make 155 pounds. Or so we thought. He's 155.2. It could be hours before a decision is made. And it is hours before a decision is made. I head to the courthouse a few blocks away, where Conor McGregor is about to have his arraignment. I wait for hours in this courthouse, lined up next to photographers and camera people from AFP, AP, BBC, RTE. After much waiting, there is a 45-second frenzy as McGregor is finally escorted from the courtroom where he made bail. And still, we haven't even gotten to the ceremonial weigh-ins yet. There's even a press conference for the next few cards, and curiously, now what we know will be tomorrow night's main event. Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Ray Janelle Iaquinta. Then we had a press conference for upcoming cards, and I can't even talk to you about that right now because we don't have all night. All you need to know is that Daniel Cormier would be overjoyed to get a fight against Brock Lesnar, as evidenced in this photo. And as they left the stage and Wonder Boy was posing, Stipe Miocic flicked Stephen Thompson's nose. We head outside to the front of the Barclays Center after 36-ish straight hours of nonsense and try to recap it all. It's fight night. And the worst thing about this week is that it was so crazy and so surreal that we can't even go over all of the exciting fights we witnessed at UFC 223. There just isn't time to discuss the odd barn-burning scrap between Kyle Bochniak and what we later learned was an injured Zabit Magomedsharipov. A fight that was originally slated to be the curtain jerker, now a featured bout on the pay-per-view. We still have 2 championship fights atop the action. Joanna Jędrzejczyk gets a chance to reclaim her title against the usurper, Rose Namajunas. I wondered if this week's events affected either competitor. This time, the fight is more measured, as Jędrzejczyk is certainly less aggressive than in previous bouts. It's a battle, but Rose Namajunas has a keen eye on her distance against the former champion. It is an excellent technical clash. In the end, there is much pride in their shared toughness, a bond made in a business of bruises. Rose retains the title much to Joanna's surprise. Jędrzejczyk leaves the cage, and I wonder what is next for the former champion now that she's fallen twice to the same foe. Namajunas walks out, belt over one shoulder with a pleased smile for a tough job well done. I look around at the Barclays Center as Khabib Nurmagomedov ascends the stairs. New York's own Al Iaquinta paces along his side of the fence as they dim the lights for Bruce Buffer's introduction. When the fight begins, I think, this is going to end right now, in the first round. But Iaquinta pushes past the first barrage and gets up. Raging Al keeps moving forward, with Khabib Nurmagomedov's confidence growing each second as a Dagestani wrestler decides to box, fairly successfully at that. It's crushing, rather one-sided. Iaquinta never stops firing, coming forward, but Nurmagomedov never relents either. Khabib even tells Iaquinta's coaches that their instructions to their embattled man is solid advice. The fifth round ends and Al Iaquinta's face is still bloody as it was after that first round. Nurmagomedov is swung around and lifted in celebration. Finally, after 26 uninterrupted wins from the moment he began his MMA career, Khabib Nurmagomedov is the undisputed UFC lightweight champion. The injuries, the card changes, the dolly at his bus window, and more card changes. Here is the eagle perched atop the cage. And on one day's notice, from not having a name sign just a few days ago to surviving 5 rounds against the now UFC lightweight champion, Iaquinta waits with bated breath and wide eyes as they read the scores aloud, as if he might win. And he dips his head in feigned sadness as they announce Nurmagomedov's name. Faith rewarded. Hard work and perseverance returned in the form of a championship title around his waist. It's 2 a.m. Joanna Jędrzejczyk is here to face the media in her second loss to Namajunas, but she is defiant and unaccepting of the result. She works to project her confidence, and while it appears perplexing to hear the former champion speak in such a manner after another defeat, she is dealing with it right here with a room full of people looking to peer behind those sunglasses. Rose Namajunas is next to the post-fight press conference, and the champ speaks softly about the grand and gratifying challenge of a hard fight trained for and won. Doug Rose spoke of the strange events of the past week, trying to maintain her calmness through such madness, scratches and swollen circles around her clear eyes. She smiles as we all ask to take her photo. As she leaves the stage, I think about how I saw this woman's professional debut. And then I watched her lock in a flying armbar. I photographed her first and second and third career losses as they happened, and I watched her return better each time after. I have photographed every single one of her professional fights, now that I think about it. Here she is, 5 years later, a reaffirmed champion who has successfully defended her throne. It's a long time before Khabib finally makes it to the post-fight festivities. At 3 a.m., it feels like a blur now that I'm trying to remember that evening. All I really recall is Nurmagomedov's laughter, his stern, accomplished pose with his belt as he stood to leave, and this smile he is sharing with his coach, Javier Mendez, as they walk away arm in arm. Khabib's face beaming with gratitude and joy. The press clear the rows. Their shuffling feet echo as some go home, while others stay and finish filing their stories. The backdrop on the unseen side of this 25th year anniversary step and repeat says UFC 223, Ferguson vs. Khabib on it. Our credentials have Khabib and Max's faces on them. Somehow, in an already wild week, Conor McGregor reminded us that he was still in this world too. And in this world, we're watching a physical human drama unfold for our entertainment and hoping that somehow it's chaos and the literal fights that forged these warriors before us are stirring something in us as well. We're here to share in this festival of painful triumphs and agonizing failures, replete with physical and emotional wounds to heal. Thank you for watching.